So good afternoon and welcome to the closing event of our Northamptonshire Health and Care Partnership Virtual Wellbeing Festival 2021. My name is Anne Linsdell and my role today is to facilitate this last of 37 sessions that have run across the week. Thankfully, not all live, many of them have been recorded, but a huge amount of content as we've moved through the week. I'm supported by my colleague Robert and also others behind the scenes so that we can ensure that Teams does what we need it to do for the next 3/4 of an hour and behaves itself, and so that we can successfully get through the week and so that we can listen and hear to you. Just a bit of housekeeping. I know we're all incredibly familiar with using Teams, but just a reminder that we've got the chat function where you can put questions, comments, thoughts, reflections. You can also use the raise your hand function to, if you want to come on to and ask any questions or share any thoughts or comments. For our hearing impaired colleagues, we also have, you can turn on live captions. This turns captions on individually for you. Unfortunately, this is only enabled on using a computer and using the Teams app and is not yet available on phones or on iPads or similar. And finally, we are recording this session today so that we can make it accessible to colleagues that aren't able to join live. And that's a really important part of the festival. I've lost my words now. Festival process so that it's accessible as much as possible to everybody in the Health and Care Partnership. I'm delighted to be joined today by David, Simon and Mark, and I'll allow them now to introduce themselves.
Hi everybody, I'm Simon Weldon and it's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon. I'm the Group CEO for Kettering and Northampton Hospitals.
Hi everyone, I'm David Maher. I'm the Deputy Chief Exec at Northamptonshire Healthcare Foundation Trust, and I've just come off the Ruby Wax session, which was brilliant.
And good afternoon everybody, my name is Mark Smith. I'm the Chief People Officer at Kettering and Northampton.
So delighted to have you all here, and I know you've all been present across the week, so you will be sharing some of your insights in a little while in terms of the learnings that you've taken away from the festival. So I just wanted to remind colleagues on the call that the aim of the festival was to be able to offer colleagues across the partnership an opportunity to think about their own well-being. We're in the care and support business, and as we've heard many times across the week, you can't pour from an empty cup. We need to look after ourselves so that we're better able to look after each other and to deliver better patient and services to the people in Northamptonshire that we serve. So building on the last year, we delivered the festival in this way because of the pandemic, and we did it on a very tight timetable. But we delivered it virtually, and we wanted to build on that. And obviously, when we started planning for this at the end of last year, we still were very unclear on what the restrictions would be in place at this point of the year. So we wanted to ensure that we could make this festival as accessible to colleagues across the system as we could. We've had a huge amount of system leaders present at the festival across the week, introducing keynotes, being on sessions and showing their leadership in the system and the importance of health and well-being to how we move forward as a system. We've had a huge amount of headliners. We've had 7 sessions from headliners. We've had 2 from Ruby Wax, one of which we've just finished. We've had Amazon Lethe, Andy Cope, incredibly positive, Dan and Ephraim and Gareth Thomas, and as well as Chris Packham, who was a bit of a surprise guest that came, that joined us on Monday and had an interview with him. As I said at the start, we've had 37 hours of content, and many of those hours have been delivered by colleagues across the system. So it feels like it's a system festival delivered for the system by the system. So we've had experts and subject matter experts from a wide range of organisations. So much content that's there. So what we wanted to achieve was something for everybody as we move through. So feedback, what have we said? We've had a huge amount of feedback. We've had over 300 pieces of feedback from the sessions, and I think it shows on the screen just some of the sort of standout bits that we've got. So, you know, it's getting better and better each time. Excited to join in. You know, there's something about the importance of well-being in the system and how we value it. I mean, this is just a tiny snippet. We will be looking at the feedback and sharing the feedback across the system later in the month, I suspect. I'm not saying too soon in case my comms colleagues start messaging me with don't commit to that too soon, but we will be sharing the feedback from the festival. And in terms of many of you have completed the survey after each session, and how would you rate the quality of the session? Well, the average rating is 9.53 out of 10, which is absolutely incredible. You know, it's the quality of the content that we've delivered as a system has just been incredible. And really important, how helpful was this session to your well-being? Again, 9.26 out of 10, which is a really high rating and really shows that we're making an impact throughout. And you can see more bits of feedback there. Across the week, we've had 1,200, well, over 1,200 people watching the live sessions. We've also had nearly 1,000 people watching them sessions on I'm going to say YouTube, sounds like but on catch up as well. So, you know, nearly 2,000 people at this.
Oh, Anne's gone. I think Robert.
I think we've lost Anne's connection, Robert. I don't know if you want to hop on.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you now.
We've got you back.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking of a TV program. Can you hear me now? But there we go. I'll let that go. So we've had a huge amount of feedback and a huge amount of traffic across the website. And of course, the website is a resource that was going to stay there. Last year, we weren't really sure, and we got asked at the end how long we were going to leave it up for. We ended up leaving it up all year, and it's a resource that people can go back to refresh themselves in terms if they want to do a yoga session or if they want to do a bit of, you know, have a bit of Gareth Thomas or Ruby Wax again. It's all there for everybody to watch. So at this point, I'm just going to stop showing my slides and ask Mark, Simon and David in terms of your personal highlights from the week. So I'll start with Simon.
Thanks. Thanks, Andy. I had the privilege of introducing Amazon Latte, and I have to say it was a really inspirational and just an amazing conversation. So what did I take away from it? So the first thing I think was really the power of telling stories. She talked very movingly about a background that was incredibly challenging. She made me think about adoption again, and particularly transracial adoption, which she talked very insightfully about, and how that had caused her to really not find her own identity until she went into sport, and in particular into bodybuilding, and then really managed to make a very profound connection through reading the story of Arnold Schwarzenegger and his journey in competitive bodybuilding, which really struck home, I think. The second thing that I think everybody on the call who was with us took away was her notion of what she called a gratitude jar. And what she does, I think she still does it, is she writes on a post-it note something that she's grateful for at the end of every day and puts it into a jar. at the end of the year, she pulls out all of the Post-it notes and reads them. And she said it was amazing how much of a profound impact it had on her in terms of making her feel, reconnect to those feelings and kind of experience them anew almost. And pretty much everybody on the call, and David was hosting the questions, but I think David would both say, wouldn't we, pretty much everybody on the call responded to that saying, oh yeah, I must do something like that. And then the third thing was the power of visible allyship. And she had a phrase for it, you know, she was talking about coffee shops, and she said, maybe we all need to be that coffee shop. And why did she choose that example? Because she said the coffee shop that signals that it's welcoming and inclusive. We were talking in her session about the LGBTQ community, and the coffee shop that signals it's welcoming is a place that you don't have to check out, that is just there. And that welcome just opens up conversations that otherwise have to be checked out and maybe not taken for granted. And so she challenged us all in our everyday lives, but also in our organisational lives, I think, to be that coffee shop. So it was a fantastic talk, and maybe David was there, but those are my takeaways from that talk, and something that will certainly live long in my memory. Thanks,
Simon. David, what
Yeah,
were your takeaways?
The gratitude jar was great, wasn't it, Simon? Just a really tangible thing that people can do to just reflect and be thankful. I think the other thing, I've just done the Ruby Wax session this afternoon, which Amazon also kind of reflected on, which was that physical health or physical kind of strength is often easier to achieve than mental strength or emotional strength. Both of them talked quite powerfully about, well, Ruby Wax gave a great analogy about her mind sometimes being like babysitting garbage, which is just the constant inner monologue of stuff that's negative or questioning or doubtful. I thought that was a great mental image of babysitting garbage, and how she uses mindfulness to try and let all of that float away and just get back to being much more centered and in control of her present. So that was one big learning moment for me. The second thing I think that both Ruby and Amazon talked about was about learning to look at people with kind and compassionate eyes, and to listen to them with kind and fascinated ears. So that kind of sense of really getting to know people through the storytelling that Simon talked about understanding people's context and doing that in a really compassionate way is, I think, a powerful basis for partnership working, really. And then I guess the third thing that I learned from Ruby today was that 6-packs don't last as long as your brain, which goes back to her point about physical strength and mental strength, that, you know, the 6-pack won't stay there forever, but your brain will be possibly outlive those 6-packs. So look after your mind and be kind to your mind. Those were my take homes.
Thanks, David. Mark?
Thank you, Anne. Yeah, so the real session I wanted to reflect on was actually from this afternoon, which was the session I hosted for with Gareth Thomas. And those of you that were there, or perhaps will watch it later, you will see what a roller coaster of a session that was, all the way from the very start of his story to the very end. And he's still on it, as he's articulated. He's still on his roller coaster journey. He's had some of the highest highs and some of the lowest lows. And understanding how he navigated that and what he has done around that, and bringing out his authenticity was hugely important, and him being himself. And you saw it today. And so the reason that resonated with me was his transparency. He couldn't have been more open and emotional with us, than if he was talking to his closest family member, as opposed to us, which effectively to him was a bunch of strangers. He was so open and honest and authentic in his way, and how going back to the relationship between physical health and mental health, how he, by bringing out his truths, if you like, and talking about how he really felt and where he was really at. He said at the time, I will run faster, I will jump higher, because this weight has been lifted off of my shoulders, as it were. You know, I will be able to be an even better sports person than I was beforehand. And that was so powerful in that particular session. I think, you know, I noted in the comments afterwards the emotion from just the audience that were participating in the session, and how that had resonated with people, I think. But what was interesting and certainly wasn't lost on me was his point around, yeah, so that was 2009 and it's 2021 now. And is it much different now? And it was a really interesting point to think about, in terms of, I think we all think we've come a long way in 12 years in terms of how we think and feel and see and perceive things, and allyship particularly. But have we? You know, it's a really, it was a really big debate. And of course, we have the Euros on at the moment, and football and so on and so forth. And it was really, how much of a platform is that to be? You know, are we using that? Are we using it as we should be? You know, it was really thought-provoking in terms of how much have we honestly progressed, and how many Gareths do we know in the world that are really pushing forward with the things that he believes to be true to himself. So honestly, it was a fantastic session. As you know, we had like Gareth's super fan on the call, so I don't know where Dave is now. He's probably gone for a lie down for the next week or so after talking to Gareth Thomas, the legend. But he couldn't have been more open and honest with us, and that was fantastic to see and to understand his journey. I asked him around his support in terms of what support he'd achieved, and I think again, those on the call would have heard, it was he had to make a choice. And he made a choice in his life, many choices actually, but he had to make a real choice in that he couldn't be essentially the liar that he had been anymore, and he had to decide which one he wanted to be. And it was a great session. I'd encourage anybody to watch it, as are the other 37 during the course of the week. You know, they've all been special in their own way, and I know we have a number of people on the call that participated in those, and of course part of our role here today is to thank you for that. But they were my takeaways from Gareth's session specifically.
That, I mean, it was so all those sessions you've referenced have been emotional and have been a roller coaster for different reasons. But there's a real theme of authenticity coming out through the week, in terms of, you know, how people can be their authentic selves. And there's some Ruby used some great metaphors, and so did Gareth as well, didn't he? In terms and Amazon actually, in terms of, you know, just something that you can really hook onto and really think, actually, yeah, I get that. And I understand it. So I'm going to ask you all, and I'll start with Mark, just primarily because you just finished, in terms of what do you think your teams have got out of the week? What comments and reflections have you heard from colleagues?
So I think, so from what I've heard from colleagues in relation to the whole festival and whole event, I think has been centred on one of the best things is the ease of access to go back in and watch the sessions. If I'm totally honest, it's very difficult. We're all very busy. The whole service is very busy at the moment, and it's so beneficial to be able to go back in and check in on those of an evening or the next day, or even this weekend. Probably we'll see more downloads. I think that's one of the benefits of doing it in this particular way virtually. I know we'd all love to be in a room with social beings as humans, or many of us are, and that would be fantastic. But it's really good that people don't lose the power of these conversations. So that's been great. I've heard some fantastic comments in relation to the yoga session earlier this week, the Ruby session actually right at the beginning of the week. So I know she was just finished a session on mindfulness this afternoon, but on Monday, just again, open and transparent. And I think if I'm to take it into my own, I don't know if say practice, but my own leadership, is it makes you think more and more about how you need to be, how we should be more open and transparent with people. It's fine. People accept it. People are accepting of us and all the stuff that we carry with us and all of the history that we have and so on and so forth. And it's, I think that's really, really important. And as I say, and that it really brought it home to me this afternoon at lunchtime. You're on mute there, Anne.
Oh, sorry, David.
You can be forgiven. You've had a whole week of this. You can be forgiven.
I'm amazed the team has stayed upright. I think a bit like Mark, I think that kind of that sense of authenticity and being vulnerable is being okay, and actually that's where your real strength is, sometimes in your vulnerabilities, and if you focus on those and share them, you can build from them. And that really struck out in all the sessions actually that I've been part of and that I've heard about. And then I guess the undercurrent or overcurrent of kindness being a kind of a guiding principle in everything we do. Kindness in our relationships, kindness to ourselves, kindness to each other. So that was a real theme that I heard back from colleagues that have attended sessions, just that sense of warmth and being part of something that's bigger than them.
Done it again, brilliant. Thank you, David. Yeah, and that kindness has come through, and that self-care as well. How you need to look after yourself and each other. And Simon.
I think two thoughts from me. So the first one is, I think we often put up quite artificial barriers between our work self and our out of work self, or our what people call their real life. And the week has made me reflect about, I wonder how much of that is me, how much of that is any of us who think that we can't talk about the lives that we lead outside of work, and maybe that we'd be a better place in work if we talked a little bit more about both of them, because it goes the reverse way. One of the things I think I reflect on is I very rarely, when I'm at home, talk about what I go through at work, but perhaps I should do that a bit more. And the other thought is this notion of compassionism, kindness. Compassionism is something that people are thinking a lot about in the health service at the moment. And there's good reason for that, because we know that when we are not kind, when we are not compassionate, that actually negatively impacts clinical care. So there is a really profound patient-centered reason for thinking about these things, as well as just the decent human being thing. You know, that in actual fact, if we get those interactions right in a clinical setting, in a compassionate way, we will materially be positively impacting care. And so the week has really brought that back home to me.
Lovely, thank you. And absolutely, it's about bringing your whole self to work, isn't it? And being that human being that's that, you know, with all the things that we bring and all our own stories as well. So at this point, I'm going to ask colleagues on the call to come to raise their hand and come on and share some of their highlights from the week, because I know colleague, you know, we've had 37 different sessions, so lots of things to come through. So I'm just trying to see who raised their hand first. So I think Owen, like to come on and share your thoughts.
Yeah, hi Anne. Sorry if you can hear some banging in the background. There's some builders next door, so apologies about that in advance. But yeah, as being on the support team for the whole Wellbeing Week, I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of the sessions that I might not otherwise have. And I think one of the highlights for me are the things that I would have had no idea about otherwise. So things like the trauma-informed care session that Kaj did. It's quite hard-hitting stuff, but it's quite humbling stuff I never would have known about otherwise. Or so the menopause session, it's something so far away from who I am and sort of where I am, but it sort of gives you a wider picture and maybe a further empathy into who you work with. And of course the keynotes were amazing. Particularly one is Dan Cross and Ephraim Brinning. That was real strong stuff. Sort of really makes you think, and it's hard not to come away with a bit of a humbling after seeing something like that, and people who were so open about such difficult things I've been fortunate enough to be nowhere near. So yeah, that was amazing.
Brilliant, thanks for sharing that, Owen, and really powerful sessions, each of them. I'm going to ask, I think Louise, you were next.
Thank you. Hi. So some of my personal favourites and highlights were some of the pre-recorded sessions that the sort of staff had done. So such as Ray, the gardener, it was brilliant. He's such a lovely guy. Lisa in the calf. And I guess I just wondered from your perspective, how important do you think it is to the festival to have those inputs from staff alongside things like the keynote speakers?
Okay, who would like to respond to the question?
I'm happy to respond to that, Anne, definitely. I think it's, thank you, Louise, for the question. I think for me, it's really important that we have our colleagues, because whilst we have talked a lot about the keynotes today and their new thinking or different thinking into our world, it's really important that we share each other's stories with one another, because it can get quite conceptual otherwise, where you think, well, that's okay because he's a rugby player that was on an elite sports field and you're never going to be in that space. Hearing from people that we work with on a regular basis across the partnership is really important, because we can resonate with them much easier because we are in that environment. We can, there may be topics that we have no knowledge of beforehand, but it's it makes it much more personal and bespoke to us, as opposed to, you know, we can probably watch lots of videos of lots of celebrities talking about what they want to talk about on different various forums, not to promote any in particular, but it's really important for us to be to see people like us. I find that really important. I think that's a really important part. I think it's how do we anticipate the time for all 37 in 1 week? That's the challenge, isn't it? So what's good is we can keep going back to them, and I really like that about last year's. That was really good for me over the last couple of the weeks after the event. You could go back and you could catch up on all of those sessions, although I always, just to be clear, avoid the ones that I'm in, but the rest of them are great to see.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Mark. So I'm going to ask Anne-Marie next. You've got your hand up.
Thank you, Anne. I'd like to say that the great thing about the festival is that there's something for everyone. I have laughed, I've cried. I fell asleep actually today in Ruby's mindfulness sessions, but just for a second, I nearly fell off my chair. It's just amazing. And I think I've just loved all of it. I will say Andy Cope, he just lifted me. It was just such an amazing session. I mean, all of the keynotes were, and but he in particular just really lifted me. I didn't get to catch all of the sessions that I wanted to view, so I will be looking on catch up, obviously not my own. But another one that did stand out for me that I will like to mention is the Eat Well, Spend Less session. I think that's really important, especially at a time when money is tight for people. I'm finding more and more, you know, lots of people are kind of opening up about that they don't have enough money sometimes even to eat and for food. So I think some of those hints and tips are really good, and what you can do with spare like vegetables and things, and where you can go for cheaper options. So I thought, yeah, it's an amazing week. Behind the scenes team have been absolutely amazing. I don't think we could have done our session without them. They just put us at ease, and it's been great working collaboratively as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. And that's that Eat Well, Spend Less one I haven't actually caught up on yet, so I'm looking forward to catching up on that. So next we've got Jack. You there, Jack?
Hello there, nice to see you. Yeah, basically, I think this week's been incredible for me because I actually only started in my role about a month ago. So to start a month ago and then be involved as part of communications for Virtual Wellbeing Festival has been absolutely brilliant. And for that reason, the one session I would definitely like to highlight is the gardening session, because the comparison of me a month in and Ray, who was 48 years into his service, you know, it's just one of those things for me that I was listening to all these stories that he's had in his time working for the NHS. And yeah, I'm not a very good gardener, but I took a lot out of his approach, the way that he goes about things. And yeah, that was really good for me to listen to. The beauty of being on comms this week is that I've not had time to watch absolutely everything, which means I'll get to enjoy it even more next week as I go back and have a look at things. But again, Andy Cope for me, that was a real lift on Wednesday. I think he was fantastic to listen to, and there's so much that I took from that session, from Dan Cross and Ephraim Brennan as well. There was so much there to, as Owen says, humble you really, and just have a reflection on your own life, your own privileges and stuff like that. So yeah, plenty more to take when I catch up. And thank you very much to Anne and the other organisers, because it's been brilliant. Cheers.
Brilliant, thank you, Jack. And we look forward to seeing photographs of your garden as your gardening skills progress. So I'm going to ask Robert next. Come on to the screen.
Brilliant, thanks, Anne. I just think it's been an absolutely fantastic week, and I think to be able to put something on which is accessible for everyone across the system to watch live or to catch up afterwards is just fantastic. And I think like what Anne-Marie was saying, that there's something there for everyone. And actually, I started off the week with watching Disco Diva, and I put it on while the kids were just having their breakfast, and they were doing YMCA, and the kids went to school just singing YMCA, so it lifted their spirits as well. And I think that's what's so important, that whilst it's good for our well-being, it's also good for our partners, for our children, for everyone. So there's something for everyone to get in touch with and watch back on demand. And I did watch Pradeep and Sue's video all about photography, and I was just smiling the whole way through it, to see it out in Abington Park and just talking about taking photos, just generally connecting with each other. And then when the dog come running up as well, just wanted to be part of the video sort of thing. So I just thought it's been fantastic, and like I say, there's something there for everyone, and I will enjoy catching up on the sessions from across the week as well.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, the dog was a third star of that show, definitely. Sarah.
Thank you. I think it's been an amazing week with such a variety of sessions. But for me, there's two things that have really stood out. I think the system collaboration, the amazing work that you've done behind the scenes. And, when we had rehearsals, you just made everything so easy for the presenters. And the collaboration between myself and Anne-Marie, jointly delivering the menopause session as well, and that seems really significant that Kettering and Northampton were collaborating so publicly on the 1st of July when the group launch as well. But for me, the personal highlights for me have been the reflection spaces. And what a variety of reflection spaces we've had and different means of reflecting. So the first for me was 8:30 on Tuesday with the chaplaincy team. Fabulous, really well facilitated, absolutely brilliant, and a really safe space to share emotional things as well. And then the writing for wellbeing. I mean, we're so used to writing. I mean, well, typing maybe, but writing reports, everything's goal focused. We have to get everything correct and grammatically correct and so well punctuated. And to write just for pleasure with no goal was just an absolute joy. And then really to top it all off today, the Stronger Together session, We Matter Too, and reflecting on compassion. It's just fabulous, absolutely brilliant. And there's just so much for everybody. So really looking forward to catching up on some of the sessions that I wasn't able to watch during the week.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. And I have to say the reflection spaces, which were facilitated by the spiritual wellbeing team across the 3 trusts, were really powerful. And they were one of my standouts, and actually really emotional as well. They weren't recorded, they were one time only, as Andy Coate would say, but it was just space to allow staff to be, and just to to think about what we've gone through for the last, what is now nearly 18 months, and just share some of that. So really powerful. I've got a couple of hands up still. Chris.
Yeah, I wanted to say I think it's been amazing. I particularly wanted to thank the team who've organised it and yourself, Anne, because what a great piece of work and all the feedback we're getting. I think the other thing I thought is went to the Ruby Wax one, and it just seems through the pandemic and everything we've been through, everybody's so busy, and that whole piece about thinking about how you manage being frazzled and how you use the mindfulness, to do something but to do something practical to help you, I think's really good. I also love the fact, and the team have organised so well. Listening to Mark talk about the Gareth Thomas, I spoke to him before he came, but I haven't seen that session yet, so I'm really excited to get into that. But I just think it's a brilliant piece of system work as well. Listening about all the trusts working together and everybody else working together, I just think that's such a great pointer for the future. So fabulous stuff. I think that's my reflection on it all.
Thanks, Chris. And you need your hankies ready when you watch Gareth's session. It's emotional.
Okay, I'll take that tip.
Yeah, you do. Paula.
Hi, Anne. Thank you. well, just to echo lots of the things that people have already said, one of the things I think is really valuable about the festival is that it encourages us to encourage our staff to take a bit of time for themselves. So whether it's, you know, encouraging people to take some time during the day to watch something, that's us role modelling the importance of looking after your own well-being, isn't it? So I think to provide this space for people is really, really good. There's been a huge amount of variety, which is excellent. So there really is something for everyone. And I think it's been really nice that not only is it a collaborative piece, but it enables lots of people from different pockets of our organisations to share their stories. So the KGH choir, you know, the gardener, all sorts of different people managed to share what's great about them, their interest or their contribution, and that's really lovely. I haven't managed to watch as much as I would have liked to this week, so I will also be one of those watching later at a time to suit me, and that is a real bonus because I know working in an acute trust, lots of my colleagues have said, you know, I wanted to watch such and such, but I wasn't able to. So we've been reinforcing the ability to watch it on catch up, and not just for a few weeks, but for a, you know, prolonged period of time, which is really good. But I watched Gareth today, and like all the people who watched it, you know, it really was a very emotional watch, really intriguing and interesting. He's a brilliant storyteller, so it was really engaging. But the thing that struck me was in him telling his story and the way he approached his story, he had been incredibly strong. He must have incredible personal strength. And it just struck me that, you know, not everyone is as brave as he is. Not everyone has the family support that he had. And it's really, really important for us to be as supportive as we can in creating the right environment for staff to be themselves at work. And the other thing he said was, he said that once he decided to be honest and open, he was able to do so much more because he wasn't having to sort of think about the lie all the time. And that I thought was really, really powerful. So thank you, Anne. I know it's a huge amount of work. So thank you very much for all that you and the team have done this week, because I've only seen a little bit. I will be watching some more, but thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, Gareth's description of carrying that baggage of not being his authentic self around with him and how much better it was once he'd released that was just really, really powerful. So thank you. Thank you to everybody that shared their comments. I think that's everybody else. Robert, have you got, is that, I'm going to say, is that an old hand or a new hand?
That is a new hand, just to read through. I think it'd be useful to read through some of the comments that are in the chat box. So from Michael, he said, thanks for a good range of sessions and looking to cater for all tastes. All the best. Jane has said, it's just amazing that people are happy to share their innermost personal stories and deliver with such compassion and emotion. It's great to share and in some way normalise discussing issues that lots of people have had. Just makes me feel so proud. David has put a comment in as well saying, really well done to everyone involved in organising this week. It's been fantastic. I've learned lots and amazing to have the legacy of content on demand. That will make a real difference to people when things get tough. Well done. From Paula, well done, Team Northamptonshire. Margie has posted a question, which is, will comms be dripping things through the coming weeks and months to encourage people to go back and view stuff when it's September, say, will be so valuable to be able to dip in a future and opportunist time. And then Suzanne's just replied back to that to say, yes, we'll keep the momentum as often as we can to remind people if the sessions are available on catch up to keep the important message of looking after your well-being. So that's
brilliant. Thanks, Robert. And we're not planning to take the website down like last year. We actually left it up for the entire year, so we will keep it there as a resource for people. So thank you for sharing your personal highlights and insights. I'm just going to, we now have got a short video that we've managed to get ready to play in time. So lastminute.com behind the scenes, but that's fine. So Robert, are you good to share the video link?
Hello, hi. I just want to take this time to thank all our key workers.
I just wanted to say an enormous thank you.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to all of our key workers and all of our health and care staff across Northamptonshire who've done such an amazing job.
Thanks so much for all you do.
I and our generations that have lived through this lockdown will never forget how much was given by the key workers during the last year to 18 months, and how much is yet to be given.
All the work you've been doing through the pandemic, everything you've coped with, everything you've delivered, the fantastic care you've given to patients has been amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to give a big thank you to all the NHS and care colleagues.
Thank you to all our amazing key workers. You've been an invaluable part of the community.
I'd like to personally thank all of our dedicated and hard-working key workers.
Key workers, everyday superheroes, I salute you.
I just want to say a huge thanks to everyone.
We think you're amazing. Keep doing that great work.
I want to say a really big thank you to everybody who has worked so hard during such a challenging year. Thank you.
A big thank you.
Thank you for everything that you've done over the last 12 months and beyond.
And I wanted to take the opportunity at the end of our Virtual Wellbeing Festival to reach out to every single one of you and to say thank you. A thank you to all the key workers who continue to support us to manage the pandemic in Northamptonshire and to provide the care and support and health interventions and all of the interventions that we provide collectively for our population. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for all the contributors, and apologies if I'm not sure if it was just me or the sound was a little jaggedy there. I think the Wi-Fi, as David has described several times this week, might have been a little spiteful at the end of the Friday afternoon, so thank you for that. So I'm conscious of time, and it is a Friday afternoon, so I'm just going to ask our leaders on the call just to say a few words of reflection. So if I start with Simon.
I think the conversation we've had this afternoon speaks for itself, really, but I think one of the best things that we've learned this afternoon is that I think virtual events often offer people a chance to come in who maybe would feel a bit shy about coming into live events, because it attracts different audiences, and I think that's been really great, actually. So I hope in whatever we do in the future, we find a way to continue putting content online and giving people a lot of different ways to access the sessions and come back to them over the year ahead. I think that's been a truly valuable part of what we've done. And just to thank everybody who's taken part.
Thank you. David?
I'm new to Northamptonshire, and I just think it's amazing. We didn't have anything like this in London. I think it's fantastic.
I think spiteful Wi-Fi struck again.
Oh, I'm back again. Where did I get to?
You're back now. London.
London. Yeah, no, I was just reflecting that new to the system, that it's fantastic seeing people coming together to put on this range of content, and to have it there, as Simon said, for the tough months, possibly over winter, for people to come back to and take inspiration from, I think is great. So we must remember what's in this content so we can remind people to use it over the coming months. Yeah, brilliant. Well done.
Thank you. Mark.
Thank you, Anne. I think so. Just one summarise endpoint for me, and then I'll move on to some thank yous, perhaps. But for me, in terms of, we have to remember across the NHS at the minute, we have a national people plan. The number one item in that people plan is looking after ourselves and each other. The number one item in our business planning for this year is looking after ourselves and each other. This is really, really, really important, and this is a massive showcase. David's right. I've come from a London system. This wasn't there. We didn't have this type of event here. We've created this over the last couple of years, and look how fantastic and the size of reach it will have and can have, and the impact it can have on people. We talk in the thousands, we talk in the hundreds, but we honestly truly feel if the sessions make a difference to an individual, then that's done its job. But you know, we have helped people in and around in our system, which is of course fantastic. We need to remember that. The final thing that I would like to do, though, and I know colleagues Paula, Chris, Etel, and others have done it, is just to thank the huge amount of work that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, look at this team, this fantastic team. I am going to ask a couple of questions questions of this team though, which is I heard Sarah say that there's a rehearsal time. I didn't get any rehearsals, so what's that's I'll pick that up for next year perhaps. But there's it's a fantastic team, as you can see. It's a huge amount of infrastructure that's put in behind the scenes to make this event work well. 37 sessions over 5 days, a mixture of pre-recordings, a mixture of live events, all on Teams with spiteful Wi-Fi, which is my brand new term for the day, definitely. You've done an amazing job to all of you, and indeed across the partnership in the health and wellbeing subgroup that pull this together. This is a year long in the planning, and you can definitely tell by the quality of the product that we have. So thank you all ever so much. You've been outstanding, and the little clapping emojis are a true testament to that. So thank you all very much. And yes, over to you, Anne.
Brilliant, thank you, and on my behalf, thank you for thanking the team. But the team have been absolutely brilliant, and it's what makes working on a project like this the best thing, because actually everybody's looking out for everybody, and it's a real team effort. So thank you for that. For the last time, I'm just going to go through the sort of the closing steps for the festival. So feedback is an absolute gift. We are looking for your feedback on this session and any other sessions that you watch on demand or have access live. Entering feedback will get you entry into a competition to win a festival goodie bag, and there are books from our keynote speakers in there as well. So as they say on TV, you need to be in it to win it. You can either scan the QR code that's on the screen with your phone, or you can click on the link that my colleague is going to put into the chat. And as we've referenced several times, all the festival resources are going to stay online and live to be able to watch on demand. And we've also got some challenges that have been there. There's a step climbing challenge. There's some resources that you can download. There is a Spotify playlist which has been created during the week. And I'm just looking at the chat to tell me that the Spotify playlist is ready to use, and Jack's going to post the link in the chat. Sorry, that is live off the chat there, but yeah, that's been compiled by colleagues across the county and is all music songs that make us feel better, and that's really important. We've had a lot of social media activity over the week, and please continue to do so, tagging RNHCP on Facebook, on Instagram and on Twitter, using the hashtags. And finally, the support that continues to be there and will continue to be there is the Stronger Together, the resilience hub for the county that's there for all the health and care staff within the county. The Changing Minds IAP team, which is there to support with talking therapies to support stress, depression and anxiety. And the mental health crisis line and website is also there. Finally, a bit of a thank you from me. I just wanted to share some images that I felt were really powerful and really sort of summed up some of the themes that were going through the week in terms of some of the varied sessions that we've had. So I'm copying, and I'm going to say it with Pinching with Pride from Charlie Mackesy, the brilliant book, I'm going to get it wrong now, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, but just images that I'm just going to leave you with just to reflect on. There we go. So thank you very much, and hopefully see you next year. Enjoy your weekend.
Well done, thanks, Anne. Well done all.
And enjoy the football tomorrow night for those following England. Sorry.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you all.